The Chicago Bears made a blockbuster trade right before the deadline on Halloween, and I'd argue it was the most needed trade by any team in the league. The Bears acquired Montez Sweat from the Commanders for a second-round pick. Sweat brings some good pass rushing and elite run defending to the absolute worst defensive line in all of football. The Bears had only 10 team sacks through 8 games, which is abysmal. It's the lowest in the league, and the team with the second fewest still has 15 sacks, which is 5 more than the Bears. Well, luckily for them, Sweat has 8 by himself. That is the 7th most in the league. Now, it is 2023, and we all know sacks aren't everything, so if we look at total QB pressures, then you can see Chicago had 125 total pressures, which is the 4th worst number in the league. So by every metric, Chicago has been terrible rushing the passer. Sweat has 27 pressures alone, which is 22nd in the NFL out of more than 100 pass rushers. So Sweat definitely adds a much needed boost, but it's not just in the pass rush department. The most significant skill that Sweat brings to any team is his run stuffing ability. He is 3rd highest graded run defender according to PFF. DeMarcus Walker is 69th and Yannick Ngakoue is 95th. These are the 2 starting defensive ends for Chicago. Now, Walker and Ngakoue are the best edge defenders Chicago had to offer before Sweat arrived. But they still had to play Dominique Robinson and Raheem Green a combined 372 snaps to give their starters some rested times. Robinson and Green are 2 of the worst edge defenders who play over 100 snaps according to PFF. So it's not just helping the starting lineup of Chicago, but it's giving them much needed depth by allowing one of their current starters to become the substitute player rather than Green or Robinson. But now that we have addressed the desperate need of Chicago and the talent level that the newly acquired Montez Sweat is, let's take a look at how Sweat actually finds success by breaking down some film. We will start with his pass rush. Sweat is a powerful rusher with long arms, and that is really where he finds the majority of his success. He has so much vertical power to rock offensive linemen off balance. Sweat does this time and time again because his 35-inch arms are not something that blockers can really beat easily with technique. Sweat often makes first meaningful contact and uses great leg drive to collapse a tackle into the quarterback, forcing him to scramble and make a play off script, or sometimes even resulting in a sack for Sweat. He also has a couple counters off of his explosive bull rush. Here you can see a push-pull rip that he uses often and effectively. He also uses that power to knock the blockers back into the pocket, shortening the edge. He creates space between himself and the blocker while forcing the blocker's hands to be fully extended, and then uses an easy hand attack to win around that edge. So his power does a lot for his pass rush game, but the hand attacks are not always linked directly with that power, like the play I just showed you. He also has a beautiful long arm swat where he extends his inside arm to draw out the blocker's hands before swatting the blocker's punch and flipping his hips to win around the outside. He uses a forklift on the outside hand to break the blocker's grip, then finishes the rep with a rip to get a pressure on the quarterback, and he has shown a great outside chop to break the grip and then dip low around the edge. By the way, notice quite a few plays I'm highlighting have been against the Bears, so they have got an up-close look at his talent. Last positive attribute I want to highlight about Sweat's pass rush is his high-effort relentlessness. This is not as common as you'd expect for football players being paid millions, but it makes a huge difference when a play breaks down and the quarterback is still looking to move the ball downfield 4, 5, and 6 seconds into the play. It becomes a real advantage to have a relentless athlete like Sweat pursuing the QB. Now, he is not a perfect pass rusher. Far from it, actually. He's a little stiff-hipped, so he doesn't bend around the edge at a high level. He does have hand attacks, but they are not as refined as the top guys like Nick Bosa or Max Crosby. And this guy ran an insane 4.4 second 40, but he does not threaten upfield the way that 40 would suggest. he too often plays run first, meaning he attacks into the blocker's chest with his eyes up to stack and shed rather than exploding around the edge. Still, as I highlighted earlier, he is a good pass rusher. So now let's look at how he is such an elite run defender. When you attack blockers with run defense in mind before pass rush, it does limit your explosion upfield, but it helps you to set a strong edge and close running lanes for running backs. His long arms and great power help him to knock blockers back into the backfield, while he can keep his arms extended to easily shed when the ball carrier comes near. And by knocking the blockers back, it also causes running backs to either bounce deeper into the backfield to get to the edge, which gives linebackers time to make a tackle before the running back gets upfield, or the running back is forced to cut up inside before he can even get to the edge, thanks to Sweat's power to knock guys back. When the Bears made this move, some people were surprised because they are not really in a win-now situation. But I think it was genius. I just showed you what a talent Sweat is, and the Bears obviously need a better D-line moving forward. Sweat will be a free agent at the end of the year, but the Bears are set to have the most cap space in the NFL this offseason with $110 million. Now they can start contract negotiations with Sweat before he hits the open market, or franchise tag him, and they have the money to do so. Also, the cost of a second-round pick is not so severe, especially when you think about the fact the Bears are currently set to have pick 2 and pick 3 right now, thanks to their trade with Carolina. So they can take a big new talent like Drake May and pair him with Marvin Harrison, the wide receiver out of OSU. They just traded for DJ Moore, as well as drafted and invested money into their O-line last year, so it won't be a bad offense for a new quarterback to come into. It's a good time to spend money while you have a rookie contract quarterback so that you give that quarterback the best opportunity to succeed, and adding a pass rusher helps to make sure the QB doesn't have too much pressure to win in shootouts. The Bears can also likely get that second round pick back, or maybe even more, by trading Fields before the draft. So I like the direction the Bears front office is taking this team. They are building the roster the right way. The newest Bear out of Washington is just the beginning, but I expect Montez Sweat will be a great building block for a strong defense in Chicago's future.